He's just a pushover, my wife told her family while transferring my bonus to her brother. He'll just smile like always, her mom said. I just watched them celebrate. 3 days later, she begged for forgiveness. I met Meryl at a friend's barbecue back in 2016. She had this easy laugh, an artsy vibe, curly hair tied in a scarf, oversized sunglasses, barefoot even though the grass was full of stickers. She sold handmade soy candles at the farmer's market, worked part-time at a yoga studio, and told me right away she wasn't one of those money-obsessed types. I liked that about her. I was the opposite, steady job in IT infrastructure, long hours, button-down shirts even on weekends. Where I was careful and slow to speak, she was warm and impulsive, a whirlwind in every sense. We were opposites, but it worked, at least for a while. I made enough to cover us both, and Meryl liked being home. Said she was working on turning her candle business into a full-fledged online store. I never pressured her. I took on more and more of the bills. Car maintenance, mine. Groceries, me. Her cell plan, still under my name. I didn't mind. Or maybe I didn't want to mind. For the first few years, she seemed grateful, made dinner most nights, did sweet things like write notes on the fridge or make me playlists for my drive to work. But gradually, things shifted. Subtle at first. She started acting like my job was just the boring thing I did. She'd joke with her family about me being the sensible one, like it was a bad thing. Then her brother Dean got into the picture again. Dean was the classic case of a golden child who never had to grow up. He floated from idea to idea. One day, he wanted to open a retro arcade. The next, he was making kombucha in his garage and calling it a startup. Their mom, Flora, always bailed him out. Meryl too, from time to time. I didn't say much about it. I figured helping family once in a while was fine. But the asks got bigger. Dean borrowed $1,500 once just for a month, and it took over a year to see it back. No apology, no thanks. Meryl said, "That's just how Dean is." I said, "That's the problem." Still, I never put my foot down. Not really. I kept being understanding, hoping that if I kept showing up, being the calm one, things would even out. Then came my bonus. After 2 years of working 60-hour weeks on a huge government contract, I got the email, $42,000 deposited into my account. It felt unreal. We could finally breathe. Pay off credit cards. Fix the guest bathroom that still had tiles missing from a leak. I even talked to Meryl about taking a week off to see Yellowstone. We'd always wanted to go. She seemed thrilled. Said she was proud of me. We opened a bottle of wine that night. But then she got quiet. She stopped talking about the vacation. Didn't mention the bathroom again. I noticed her on the phone with her mom more, whispered conversations that stopped when I entered the room. One afternoon, I came home early. Client meeting got canceled. I stepped in the front door, heard laughter from the dining room. I stayed back, just out of sight. I heard Dean's voice. "You're transferring it now?" Meryl. "Yeah, he doesn't even know. He'll never check. It's just money." Her mom. "He'll just smile like always. That's the kind of husband you want. One who won't make a fuss." They laughed. Like it was funny. Like I was a child with pockets full of change, too naive to know it had been taken. I walked in. They didn't even flinch. Meryl's laptop was open. I saw the confirmation on the screen. The wire transfer was done. The entire bonus. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I said nothing. Just turned and walked to our bedroom. She didn't follow. That night, she made dinner like everything was fine. I didn't eat. She brought me a plate anyway. Said, "I know you're tired." I just looked at her and asked, "Why?" She blinked. "Why what?" "You know what." She sighed. "Dean's finally starting a real business, Con. He just needed a leg up. And it's not like we don't have it. It's just money." That's when I felt something in me shift. Like something cracked, quietly. For the next 3 days, I said almost nothing. I still went to work, still came home, still slept beside her. Then came the dinner. Meryl invited her family over for a casual get-together. She made tapas and opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving. They laughed, joked about future plans. Dean gave some speech about how some people believe in you when others won't, and raised his glass. No one said thank you. No one even looked at me. I smiled, just like they said I would. And the next morning, while she was in the shower, I printed everything out, bank statements, the wire transfer, and the divorce papers I had a lawyer draw up 2 weeks earlier, just in case I got the guts. She came into the kitchen, towel on her head, humming. I slid the folder across the table. "What's this?" she asked, smiling. "Read it." She did. Slowly. I watched the blood drain from her face. "You're divorcing me? You stole from me." "It was for Dean. He's family. I'm not." She shook her head, eyes wide. "I didn't think you'd be this upset. You didn't think I mattered enough to ask." She cried then. Said she didn't mean it. Said she got caught up in the moment. That she thought I wouldn't even notice. I didn't answer. I just picked up my coat and left for work. She blew up my phone for days. Begged me to come home. Said she'd get the money back, she didn't. Said we could fix this, we couldn't. She started showing up at my office. Sent flowers. Had her mom call me and tell me I was making a scene. I didn't respond. I don't know if she ever realized it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was about trust. About knowing that the person lying next to you would choose you when it counted. She didn't. I haven't ended the story yet because I'm not sure it's over. She still sends emails, apologies, poems, even photos of our old vacations. But something broke that day. The weeks that followed were a blur of logistics and silence. I didn't sleep much. I wasn't angry, at least not in the way most people expect. I was hollow. Like the foundation of everything I'd spent years building had silently collapsed, and no one even noticed the dust cloud but me. Meryl stayed in the house for a while. I let her. I moved into the guest room, barely said 10 words a day. She cried often, loud, dramatic sobs that echoed through the hall at night, like a storm trapped indoors. She apologized in circles, tried to explain it from every angle. "You've always been the provider," she said once, standing in the doorway while I packed a suitcase. "You're so good at it." I just thought it wasn't a big deal. It was the kind of excuse you give when you don't see the person you're talking to as real. I wasn't her partner in that moment. I was a utility, a tool she used, then assumed would quietly resume its function after the interruption. I didn't argue. There was nothing left to say. I focused on work, stayed late, took meetings I didn't need to, started walking during my lunch breaks, 5, 6 miles a day, circling downtown Raleigh like a man pacing in his own mind. It helped me breathe, helped me stop hearing their laughter. Eventually, she left. She packed her things into her mom's car one Sunday morning. I was out. I didn't want to see it. I came home to a half-empty closet, a few empty hangers swinging like ghosts. She left a note. One of those long ones that rambled through guilt and nostalgia and promises. I didn't read past the first line. I never thought you'd actually go through with it. That's what stuck with me the most. Not that she was sorry. Not that she loved me. But that she underestimated me to the bitter end. Her brother never contacted me. Not once. No apology. No explanation. He posted on Instagram about building from scratch and believing in yourself even when others don't. Meryl kept liking his posts. I heard from mutual friends that the cafe didn't get off the ground. Something about zoning issues and a lack of funding. The truck he leased got repossessed. I don't know what happened to the rest of the money. I didn't ask. Meryl tried a different tactic next. Letters. Handwritten. Mailed to my office so I couldn't block her. They came weekly for a while. 6, 7 pages of emotion. She talked about the early days. About our first road trip to Asheville. How I used to hum in the shower. How she knew she'd never find someone else as steady as me. She used the word steady like it was the highest compliment. But I saw it now for what it was. She didn't want me back because she missed me. She wanted back the man who wouldn't walk away. One of her letters mentioned therapy. Said she was learning to take accountability. I didn't respond. I started seeing someone. A therapist, not a new partner. I didn't even tell my family what had happened until 2 months after she left. My sister came over and noticed the missing photos, the echo in the house. "Where's Meryl?" she asked gently. I told her the truth, all of it. She listened without blinking, then said, "God, Con. I always thought she took you for granted, but I didn't realize how far it went." It hit me harder than I expected, because it was the first time someone said it out loud, that I wasn't imagining it, that it wasn't just me being sensitive. I moved the rest of her things into storage and gave her the address. She didn't come right away. When she finally did, she left me another note. This one was short. "I miss you. You're the best person I ever knew. I made the worst mistake of my life. If you ever change your mind, I'll be waiting." But she still hadn't returned the money. It was never about the $42,000. Not really. It could have been $4. It was the assumption, the certainty that I'd let it slide, that I'd smile like always. Some part of her thought my silence was love. But silence isn't love. Silence is the sound of a person giving up on trying to be heard. It's been 4 months now. I still live in the same house. I've repainted most of the rooms. The blue accent wall she loved is now a soft, earthy green. I finally replaced the broken bathroom tiles myself on a quiet Sunday morning with a podcast playing in the background. I keep the windows open more often now. Light feels like forgiveness. I haven't told anyone else the whole story, not really. A few friends know the gist. She took the money. I filed papers. She moved out. But no one really knows what it's like to be betrayed by someone who knew exactly how much you'd forgive. She still sends emails. Not as often now. Every few weeks. The last one just said, "I miss your quiet." But quiet isn't the same as peace. Meryl's last email sat unread for a week. I saw the subject line, "Can we talk?" and let it sit. I didn't even open it. I knew what it would say. More apologies. More memories pulled from our past like they were bargaining chips. More "you're the best man I've ever known," followed by some passive comment about how things got complicated. It wasn't malicious. It was desperate. There's a difference, and I think that's what made it worse. I never doubted that part of her really did care for me. But love without respect is just manipulation with a prettier face. In therapy, my counselor, Dr. Kane, asked me something that stuck. "Do you miss her, or do you miss the version of yourself you were with her?" I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure. I kept busy. Threw myself into home repairs. Nothing fancy, just the kind of work you can do with your hands when your mind needs somewhere else to be. I refinished an old coffee table we'd picked up from a vintage shop in Durham 3 years ago. It still had her initials carved into the underside from the day she'd joked. Now it's officially ours. I sanded them out. One night, I found myself in the garage staring at an unopened box labeled Fall Decor Merrill. It was full of faux pumpkins, plaid throws, and cinnamon candles she used to make. I opened it, inhaled the familiar scent, then quietly closed the box and took it straight to the donation center the next morning. There wasn't bitterness in it, just acceptance. Merrill reached out again a few weeks later, but this time, it was in person. She came to my office. My assistant, Petra, buzzed in. "There's someone here to see you." She says it's personal. I already knew. Merrill was standing in the lobby, arms crossed, wearing the same olive coat she wore on our anniversary trip to Charleston. She looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe I just felt further away. She gave a cautious smile. "Hey, Con." I didn't smile back. "You shouldn't be here. I needed to say something." Face to face. I stepped outside with her, more out of curiosity than interest. It was brisk. Mid-February in North Carolina isn't harsh, but it was cold enough that I wished I'd brought my jacket. We stood there on the sidewalk, surrounded by people heading to lunch. "I know I lost you," she started. "I don't expect anything to change. I want you to know I see it now. What I did." I nodded. "I didn't offer anything back. I didn't realize how selfish I was being," she continued. "I thought you'd always be there. I don't know, that love meant you'd keep forgiving me." "That's not love," I said quietly. "I know. I didn't then, but I do now." There was a pause. She looked down at her hands, twisting a ring she wasn't wearing anymore. "I've started working again. Got a job at a small shop near my mom's place. It's nothing special, but it feels good to earn something." I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say anything. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't anything. She looked up again. "You don't have to respond. I just wanted to say it. I think about you every day. And if there's ever a space where we can talk." "There's not," I said. Not harshly, just truthfully. Her face didn't fall the way I expected. She just nodded slowly, eyes glassy. "I figured," she whispered. "But I had to try." She walked away without waiting for anything else. I stood there until she turned the corner. When I got home that night, I didn't feel triumphant or vindicated. I felt tired. Because people talk about closure like it's a gift someone gives you. But I've learned it's not. Closure is something you build yourself, piece by piece, in silence, in therapy, in small decisions, like repainting a wall or giving away an old candle. It's not a moment. It's a process. And I was still in it. A few days after her visit, I got another letter in the mail. Handwritten, as always. I almost threw it out, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a check. Not for the full bonus. Just $3,000. With a note. "It's all I can do right now. I'll keep sending more. I don't expect you to cash it, but I hope you will." I didn't cash it. I pinned it to my corkboard at home as a reminder, not of the money lost, but of what I would never accept again. A month after the check, another envelope arrived. No return address. No note this time. Just another check. This one for $1,200. I stared at it for a long time. Not because of the money, but because of what it meant. Meryl was doing what I never thought she would, trying to repay what she took. Slowly, in pieces. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the therapy she mentioned. Maybe she needed something to feel like she was still a part of the story, even if only in the margins. Still, I didn't cash that one either. Instead, I slid it into the drawer with the first. They sat side by side like museum pieces, tiny fragments of an apology that had come too late. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't forgiving either. There's this space you live in, after betrayal, that no one warns you about. Not rage, not heartbreak, just a sort of quiet detachment. Like your body still shows up to your life, but your heart watches from somewhere else, unsure of whether it wants to return. I started talking to people again, friends I hadn't seen in months. My best friend Noel took me out to a Hurricanes game, said I needed something loud enough to drown the echo in your head. He wasn't wrong. We didn't talk about Meryl much. He'd only met her a handful of times, and every time afterward, he'd say, "She's nice. But something's off." At the time, I brushed it off as him being protective. Now, I wondered if everyone had noticed but me. That's what betrayal does. It forces you to re-examine every moment, every compliment, every casual glance at your bank account balance. I started to remember things I had ignored. Her reaction when I bought her a birthday gift that wasn't expensive enough. The way she once scoffed when I said no to a weekend trip because the bills were tight that month. How she'd laugh with her mom and brother and leave me out of the room for entire evenings. At the time, I thought I was just being overly sensitive. Now, I realized I had been trained to doubt myself. One night, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Trips, dinners, her laughing in the kitchen, me holding a sparkler on the 4th of July. In every photo, I looked like someone who was trying to hold something together. Not just a marriage. Myself. I deleted the album. A few weeks later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hi, Con. I know I shouldn't have messaged. I just wanted to say I'm thinking of you. Always. It was Meryl, of course. I didn't reply, but I didn't block her either. I know some people will say I should have, but it wasn't about keeping a door open. It was about keeping a mirror close. I needed to remember what it looked like to lose myself in someone else's comfort. Not to punish her, but to remind myself that I survived it. My therapist asked me recently what I'd say to her if I had the chance. No strings, no expectations. I thought about it long and hard. Not the obvious things like, you hurt me, or why did you do it? I already knew the answers. What I wanted to say, what I never had the words for back then, was this. You didn't break me, but you made me see how much I'd abandoned myself to make someone else comfortable. And I'll never do that again. I didn't say it to her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I repeated it to myself that night as I fell asleep. It was strange, the comfort in that. Like saying your own name after forgetting it for a long time. In early March, a mutual friend of ours, Alina, invited me to a gallery opening downtown. I almost said no. The idea of being around people, especially people who might ask, hey, where's Meryl, made my skin crawl. But something in me, it wasn't hope exactly, but something adjacent to it, nudged me out the door. I went. I wore a clean button down, brought a bottle of wine, and tried not to feel like a man who had once been mistaken for furniture. Alina hugged me, surprised. I'm so glad you came. You look lighter. I've been sanding floors, I joked. But she smiled, gave me this look like she saw through me. Good. You deserve to feel like yourself again. I met a few people there. Nothing romantic. Just people. People who didn't know my story, who didn't see me as the guy who got walked on. It felt refreshing. Like stepping into a room without dragging a shadow behind you. The next day, I got another email from Meryl. This time, it was different. Subject line, just one thing. I know we're not getting back together. I've accepted that. I just wanted to say that I finally understand what it means to lose something because of your own choices. I'm working, I'm paying off the debt, and I'm not asking you to respond. But I wanted to say thank you for the way you handled it. With grace. With silence. That silence changed me. I hope someday I can be someone who doesn't need forgiveness to be better. I read it 3 times. Not because I was moved, but because it was the first time she didn't ask for anything. No sympathy. No second chance. No validation. Just acknowledgement. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Some things are better left unresponded to. Not out of cruelty, but because responding would have implied I was still looking for something in her that I had finally started finding in myself. The weather started warming up. I found myself walking the long trails at Lake Johnson again, where Meryl and I used to go on Sundays. Only this time, I wasn't thinking of her. I was just walking, breathing, being. And that was new. Not being haunted. Not being bitter. Spring rolled in quietly that year. It had been nearly 6 months since Meryl walked out of the house, and I was finally beginning to feel like I wasn't living in the ruins of something. The house no longer felt haunted by old routines. Her perfume no longer lingered in the air, and her shadow no longer moved in my peripheral vision. I was present again, in my own life. I took a week off work and visited Boone, a quiet mountain town I used to love before we got married. I stayed in a cabin alone, with no distractions, just coffee in the morning, crisp mountain air, and a stack of books I'd meant to read for years. One of those mornings, while journaling on the porch, I asked myself, do I still want her to hurt? It surprised me how quickly I answered, no, not because I forgave her, but because I didn't care anymore. And that was when the opportunity presented itself. A couple of weeks after I returned, I got a call from a woman named Darcy. She introduced herself as a small business consultant from a startup incubator in Raleigh. She asked if I remembered her. I'm not sure I do, I admitted. I was at Alina's gallery opening. We spoke briefly about website optimization. You mentioned working in IT infrastructure. She said she had a new client, a boutique business trying to restructure its online storefront after some financial issues. Said they were trying to turn things around after a rough year and some unfortunate mismanagement. Then she told me the name of the business. It was Meryl's. I almost laughed. Not in a cruel way. Just in pure, dumbfounded disbelief at the symmetry of it all. Darcy continued. I'm reaching out because your name came up in our meetings. Meryl said you were great with systems, and since she's rebuilding everything from scratch, she hoped you might consider coming on as a consultant. Paid, of course. Clean slate. I let the silence hang for a few seconds. She didn't know the history, obviously. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course. No pressure. Just let me know by next week. I hung up and sat there, stunned. The idea of working with Meryl, even in a professional capacity, sounded absurd. But there was something else underneath that absurdity. A strange curiosity. A part of me that wondered what she expected from me now. So I said yes. For the next 2 weeks, I worked with Darcy to assess Meryl's online infrastructure. The site was a mess. Her payment system was outdated, her backend was bloated with broken plugins, and her customer database was unsecured. She tried to rebuild everything herself. But clearly, She was in over her head. We met virtually for a kickoff call. She looked surprised when my face popped up on the screen. "Hi, Con," she said softly. "Hi, Meryl." She looked older, a little more worn. Not in a bad way, just real. The illusion was gone. She wasn't the wild free spirit with whimsical ideas anymore. She looked like someone who had learned the cost of failure. We kept it strictly professional. I made it clear I'd be working through Darcy, and all payments would go through her. No direct contact outside of scheduled calls. She agreed. Over the next month, I rebuilt her backend from the ground up. It was some of the cleanest work I'd done in years. I even helped her set up a new payment gateway, automated her shipping notifications, and optimized her product listings for mobile. The site ran better than ever. And then, I sent my final invoice. $5,000. Itemized, fair, professional. No discounts. No favors. She paid it within the hour. An hour later, I received a short email. "Thank you for everything. Truly, I didn't expect you to say yes. I'm grateful you did. I know you don't owe me anything. But I hope someday we can talk, not about the past, but about who we are now. If not, I understand. I just want you to know you helped me get back on my feet." I stared at it for a while, then deleted it. Because here's the thing about revenge, it's not always fire and fury. Sometimes it's colder, quieter. It's standing in the ruins someone else made. And instead of lighting a match, you rebuild it better than they ever imagined and charge them for the work. Meryl got her second chance, but she had to come to me to earn it. And I didn't scream. I didn't guilt trip. I didn't drag her name through the mud. I simply handed her a bill and watched her pay for the thing she once took for granted, my time. There was satisfaction in that. Clean. Uncomplicated. Revenge doesn't always have to be destruction. Sometimes, it's simply the act of choosing your own dignity and making sure the people who underestimated you see it, loud and clear. I moved on after that. Truly. I stopped checking her socials. I didn't open any more emails. I didn't replay our memories. I didn't wait for one more apology. I started dating again. Slowly. Nothing serious. But enough to remind myself that connection doesn't have to come at the cost of your self-worth. And the house. It's mine now in every sense. I redid the kitchen. Got a new dog, an old golden retriever from a shelter named Cody, who follows me from room to room like I'm the only person in the world that matters. Which, after everything, feels like the right kind of ending. Because I'm no longer a pushover. I'm a man who stood up, walked away, and quietly built a better life than the one they tried to steal. And I did it without raising my voice.